So what can you get for 20 US dollars or even less? It's something that comes up a lot with friends and family, people looking for very affordable cutlery. For everyday carry, it could be a pocket knife, or if you're going camping, a fixed blade, looking for budget options. And this is what we're talking about here today. Budget options that aren't just budget, but they're also high value. And that is something that, believe it or not, is not in short supply. There are actually a lot of budget items, but of those, there's a considerable amount that are high value, more so than ever before. And so I just want to celebrate this fact by doing a video talking about this and giving some examples, because this does come up from time to time on the channel. A lot of people are on a budget for various reasons, and I mean very tight budgets. Just to save $10 a week is a big deal for some people. It really is. And so you could be a college student. You could be in between jobs. You could be just starting out in the workforce. There's all kinds of reasons why you could be very, very tight when it comes to the budget. And maybe you have your first child on the way and you need to save, for medical bills or whatever, maybe you have, 4 or 5 kids and they're literally eating you out of house and home. So if you want a new knife, or if you just need a knife for whatever reason, could be for, once again, everyday carry or for, recreational use, just like camping. What are some options? What are some very good high value options? Okay. And I'm going to try to just condense this down to, a very short time frame here. So I'm going to get right into it. The first would be a small fixed blade. And I mean small. And I really, really enjoy my CRKT Minimalist. And they have different models for different types of people that have different preferences. But I have almost all of the different models, and they're all good. They're all good. You can use this small fixed blade as a neck knife. You can use it for pocket carry. You can put it on your belt. You can use it as a boot knife. You can attach it to a backpack. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. It's so compact that it fits almost any survival kit. So the CRKT Minimalist, you definitely want to check that out. And I got mine on Amazon, and I have a whole bunch of them, but the average price, was between $14 to $16, and you can't beat it for that. The next option is to go with more of a companion size fixed blade for outdoor uses, and this would be like the Mora knives. And there are Mora knives that do cost more than $20, but there are a ton of them. Possibly the majority of them are under $20. So you have the Mora Companion and a host of others. And so, you just figure out which one fits your hand the best, figure out what kind of steel that you'd want. Most of these, like for example, the stainless steel uses the 12C27 Sandvik steel. That stainless steel is wonderful. It's an entry-level steel, but it's one of the better ones. It's pretty good. And, on average, I have spent between $6 to $10 on my Mora knives. These more basic ones that I have. I do have the Mora Kansbol and the Mora Garberg and a few others, and they were more than $20. But the ones that were under $20, I typically spent between $6 to $10 on, and they are awesome. I wouldn't sell these or give these away because I like them that much. So definitely look into it. They have carbon steel and they have stainless steel options. and the colors are almost unlimited. In fact, they're always coming out with new colors and different models, so just keep your eyes out. And I found for me, though, when they do have them on sale, typically Amazon.com is the best place, but sometimes other places have sales too. So once again, just keep your eyes peeled. The next example or sample of these types of knives in the category of budget high value would be Buck. Wow, I mean, Buck has some options over the years. They've come out with different things. And I have the Buck Light Max Small fixed blade, and this one here is actually in what I think it's kind of like this marsh camo. I think they call it like woodlands or wetlands, or I'll have to look it up, and I'll annotate it here on the screen. But yeah, it could be like, basically, it's kind of like, it just reminds me more like marsh camo, and where there's like reeds and things, and it's a cool camo. But anyways, it's a small fixed blade here, and they don't make this one, I don't think, anymore, but they do have a second generation of this. So they still make it, but the handle is just a little bit different. But yeah, I got this for under $20. I don't remember this one very clearly about what I paid, but definitely under $20 on this. And so, wow, 420 HC, which just stands for high carbon, 420 high carbon steel. It sharpens up really easy. I mean, almost no effort with a ceramic rod, and it holds for a pretty good amount of time. I mean, it's a softer steel, relatively speaking, but it does hold pretty well. I mean, it's not bad. It's not bad. And just overall, it's so lightweight and easy to carry on your belt. It's good to go. Now, let's get into some folders, and I'll start with the Spyderco Bird line of knives. And we have the Robin 2 and the Meadowlark 2. And these are in brown, but you can get them in other colors. They have a 4-position pocket clip. They have this really nice bitextural grip that's built into the FRN handles. It has lanyard holes. It has ambidextrous opening, one hand opening with the thumb hole there. And some people refer to this particular design with the bird line like the comet hole, or some people say it's like a bird claw hole. There's all kinds of terms, but basically it's a hole, and you can put your thumb in it, and it could be either hand. And one hand opening is very easy, and to me, it's very intuitive. It's one of the best designs. I like this more so than like thumb studs. And so this is a mid backlock, on these two actually, and very strong, just very, traditional type of locking mechanism. And these both have forward choles. So if you want to choke up on the knife, you can do that. And these are relatively lightweight. And so I got the Meadowlark 2, the larger one here, for around $20. And I picked up the Bird Robin 2. I believe that was like $16 and change. And what a bargain. Probably, possibly the highest value of the ones I'm going over today. And that actually says a lot. Now, they use HCR13 MOV stainless steel, so nothing to really gloat about. But you know what? I don't know if it's just me, and I don't think it is, because I've heard other people talk about this, but I've had some very good success. It's relatively rust resistant, but I mean, I've had some spots on my HCR13 MOV steel before. But typically speaking, it resists it pretty well, especially if you have a high polished blade, or at least a satin finish blade. So it does good. But it's very easy to sharpen or touch up, but it holds an edge a lot more, though, than what you would think. I have some larger folding blades that are really stout that uses HCR13 MOV, and I've actually batoned with it and spent a whole weekend out in the woods without sharpening it. I went out with a sharpened blade, and I just used it the whole weekend. And I mean, I pushed it to the limit that I would even classify some of the things I did was abusive to that blade. and it had no chipping. It had no rolling of the edge, and it was actually still sharp, relatively sharp, not shaving sharp, because I did so much wood, whittling and cutting and with it that it wasn't that sharp, but it was sharp enough to still do stuff when I came home. So, wow, that's impressive. That was, and one of those knives was the Tenacious, because I know I'm going to get questions about knives and things that I sometimes use in the wood. Sometimes I'll bring out the Tenacious, the Spyderco Tenacious. That knife, though, typically runs between $36 to $55, just depending on where you get it and if you get them on sale. So that's just, it's a big range, but they do make different types, different versions of it. And sometimes there's big deals and clearance. So I've seen it as low as 36, but it typically kind of hovers between like 38 to 40, on average that I've seen lately, but I've seen it as high as like 55. But anyways, it's a pretty good knife. It's a more stout knife. It's definitely a lot heavier than pocket knives that I normally carry, but I wouldn't call it like extreme duty, but it definitely can hold its own. I was really impressed, like how it did. And other knives too that were having similar blade steel really held for the whole weekend when I've done weekend outings. So anyways, let's get back to the list here of folders. I got two more left. The next, and this, I've had a number of these. I still have them all, but I have a number of these Kershaw Shuffle 2. This one, I really had to adjust the pivot. I did also have to adjust the pivot on the Spyderco bird knives too, but they were pretty good. I just had to loosen them just a little bit. This Shuffle 2 here, and this is in a tan coloration, it came really tight. Like I could barely even open the blade. So I have all kinds of really, awesome tools to do some really precise adjustments, and so I adjusted it, and it's really nice now, super smooth, and very easy to open. The ball bearing detent is really good. It has just enough retention to keep the blade in when you want it to stay closed, but when you want to open it, it doesn't require a bunch of effort. So let's talk about this Shuffle 2. And of course, I have videos on all these knives on the channel somewhere. You can just do a search for it if you want in-depth reviews on any of these or overviews. But this Shuffle 2 has like a pry bar end piece. It's really, I think, more for like supposed to be like a driver, like a straight edge driver, and a bottle top opener. But you can also use it to pry, like do some light duty prying with it. I've done it and have no problems. The Tanto blade, man, I love it. It can really pierce. It does a really good job piercing. And somehow, whatever angle that they chose to put on there, it really holds an edge and it stays wicked sharp. Actually, when I got this, and it still is because I keep it touched up, the edge is like kind of like that scary sharp. Like you have to be really careful not to touch the edge or it will cut you. So that's just something to think about. When you get this particular knife, you can get it to that point that it's scary sharp. The pocket clip is only available to be, for the, tip down carry from either side. So you can still switch it, but it's just tip down, which, I'm not personally the biggest fan. But if you look at the design of this knife, it doesn't make sense to put the clip on the back because of all the stuff that's going on in the back, the tools on the back. It does have like an open, construction, where the scales are. You can still kind of, look into the knife from the backside. This is an integrated liner lock, so it's kind of more concealed, and the actual texture on the plastic scales, it's okay. It's adequate. It's not great. It does have dual thumb studs, so if you're a righty or a lefty, no problem. And I just love the black stonewash finish. Super awesome. Just love that finish. It wears very, very well. And overall, I just want to say it's super high value. I got these, I got a couple of them at $14, and I think I got one at $16. Those are sale price. I don't know what currently the price is. I think they average like between $18 to $20, but I don't remember that clearly, but I think that's what it is. This is about right at 3 ounces. And personally, this is just me though, because I like lightweight blades. This is about as heavy as I go. My weight range is between 2 to 3 ounces. I like to stay a little closer to 2 ounce just because I like just not feeling the blade in my pocket. And the type of clothes that I wear, it kind of makes it a little more difficult to kind of just forget that you're carrying a blade. Because, I mean, I don't like the feeling of knives bouncing in my pocket, or you can feel it pulling down on your pocket. And so I just stay no heavier than 3 ounces. So this is kind of like the heaviest pocket knife for EDC that I would carry. Now, of course, there are other knives that I carry that are really large, and they are certainly a lot heavier for self-defense. But that's only if I'm wearing certain types of clothes. But just my average casual clothing that I wear throughout my day, just on the average day, I just prefer to stay 3 ounces or lighter. Okay. And also the way that this particular Shuffle 2 is designed, it has a forward choil, so that with that, you can get all of your fingers on this particular cutting tool. This blade gives you a full grip. So let's now move to the last option here, or suggestion just to consider. This is the K-Bar Dozer Hunter, and this one here is in the tan. And yeah, for a while, I'll just be honest with you, for a long time, it really kind of was like my favorite. It's still up there for like, high value budget offerings or options. I'm playing with it right now. And yeah, I mean, once you really get the pivot adjusted, and this was another example of like, wow, when I got this, the pivot was so tight. I mean, it was just, like, I'm like, what is going on? Like, cause I could barely even open the blade, and there was no way to flick the knife open or open it one-handed. So, after a little bit of adjustment, I mean, it really didn't take that long. I got the perfect tension now, and there's no blade play or nothing. And it just, I mean, the knife just snaps right open, and it's just great. Now, this knife weighs just barely over 2 ounces. I think it's like 2.2 ounces. And I just really like that weight, because you can just literally just completely forget about the knife. You just don't feel it. Sometimes I put pocket knives in my waistband, the knives that I feel more, comfortable with, at least they have better retention. Those knives that have better retention, so the knives that aren't just like going to accidentally open up in my waistband and cut me. And this one has pretty good retention in the closed position for sure. Like, you kind of have to really purposely, I'm not saying it takes a lot of effort, but you have to really purposely want to open this blade for it to really open up. It's not going to just, open up by, on accident. And that's because of the mid backlock, mechanism. It gives it nice tension in the closed position. Now, this has a thumb stud, and it comes by default on, well, if you're looking at, at the face side, it's on the face for the front side of the knife. So it's made for right-handed users right off the bat. But I do believe it's because you can take it off, and I think you can switch it. So you can reverse that if you're left-handed. Now, this knife, just like some of the others, have different color options, and I mean, even different sizes available. So definitely look into that if you're interested. But this is a really, really nice knife. It's only available though in the tip up configuration. So I prefer that, to be honest. So it's not a problem. But you can switch it from one side to the other. So tip up, right or left side, and yeah, just because it is so thin and so light, I keep like a little like knife fob on there just so it's a little easier to extract. I wouldn't call this like really like a deep carry. Like the pocket clip doesn't like really, set up so far that it really conceals the whole knife. I mean, there's about, and I'm using it right now, there's about almost exactly the width of my thumb that sticks up. So it's just enough to kind of grab and pull out of your pocket or waistband. But it really is easier for me personally just to have this lanyard, or it's not really a lanyard, but it's a fob that I put together made out of parachute cord. It's just gutted paracord, and it allows me to, extract the knife really, really quick. Now, sometimes I carry that or this knife, not just for EDC, but also as a defensive blade, but it really is on the smaller side for a defensive blade. This is definitely the smallest that I would ever consider for defensive blade. And I would say that really it's not the best option for sure. The traction on the knife is just okay. If you compare the traction versus like the Spyderco Birdline, like the Meadowlark 2, Meadowlark 2 has much, much better traction and design on the handle scale. So I prefer that way over this K-bar design. And this K-bar has like these little mini diamonds. It's like little mini diamonds is what the pattern is. And it's okay. I mean, you can feel it. It's definitely, there's traction a little bit. I mean, especially if you're really pinching it. I mean, it gives you traction, but it's not as aggressive as I would like. I just wouldn't mind going a little more aggressive. So yeah, I mean, that's the K-Bar Dozer Hunter model. And once again, I mean, it's available like every year almost now. They come out with a different color. I think the last color they came out with was their red. It's kind of like almost like a red maroon mix with a black blade. And the year before that, or the model, I guess the version of the model before that was, I think, was a gray. And then of course they have all kinds of earth tones or military tones and all that. Very cool. And so the Dozer here typically goes for around $20 to $22. That's kind of like the average price. I can't remember exactly what I paid for this one, but I believe it was somewhere between $17 and $18, if I had to guess. I think that's what I paid for this one. So it's definitely worth it. I mean, I'm super happy with it, and I have most of the colors. And I just like them all. I don't know. It's great. Now, this tan isn't like my favorite of all of them. I like the foliage green a lot more so, and even the black a little bit better. But this tan's okay. It's just a little bit lighter in coloration than I like. And but sometimes you just don't know until you get it. Like when you compare some of these browns, and the tans and the coyotes and all these colorations, there's definitely some differences, but sometimes companies have their own variation of a color than another color. You might, for example, get a tan in this brand and that in another brand, though, their tan is so much darker than that other tan. And it's like, there's nothing that matches up. It seems like everything is like proprietary. And in some ways it's kind of fun because you never really know for sure. But if you're like me and you want to match some things, you're like, man, well, what's it going to look like, So that's that. But that's what I have to say today. There's some recommendations here or things to consider, some samples to look over and to experience. And that's what I would advise, to get some experience. If you're brand new to any of this, figure out how much weight is too much or what is optimum for daily carry, what kind of blade styles works best for you. But you can have any of these knives for $20 or less pretty much right now, with the exception, I think, of that buck knife. I don't know if that particular one is made anymore. I don't think it is. They have a newer version, a second gen version. So other than that, I mean, yeah, the world is your oyster. So go and get this stuff and enjoy it, and don't worry about, price, because really anyone can own any of these or all of these. I mean, when you add all this together here, it really doesn't cost much. I'm thinking, let me just do it real quick in my head. 30, 40, 50, 60, 65. And let's just go with 105, 110, 120, and I'm going to round up just a little bit to make it kind of even, but about for $140, you could have all 9 of these cutting tools. $140 roughly. At least that's what I paid for it roughly. So, I mean, wow. I mean, that's a lot of stuff for $140. Of course, I did this over time. It's not like I just placed an order for all these things at one time. I got pretty much all these items on sale because I'm really kind of a savvy shopper. I like, getting good value. So I don't mind waiting until things go on sale. But sure, I mean, even if you were like impatient and you weren't like me in some ways, and you're like, hey, I'm not going to wait for a sale, you could probably still get all these items for maybe $160 or so, maybe a little bit more. If you're just not a patient person and you don't care about price, you just want it now. So even at that price, it's still an amazing bargain. I mean, look at all the capability there, So some people have a different philosophy. So they say, well, instead of having 9 knives for, let's just say, between $140 to $160, I'll take that money and just buy one, higher end knife, just one knife. And, I think that's fine too. If that's how you go about looking at things, that's cool, man. That's cool. Sometimes though, I kind of would have to say to myself, is that what you really want? Do you just want to have one option, or do you want to have 9 options? And it just depends on your philosophy. For me, I would kind of be so worried about damaging my only knife, or, losing it. I mean, if you lose a $10 to $20 knife, you're going to be upset about it for maybe a few days to a week, but then you let it go. It's just kind of what happens. But if you lose a $150 to $160 knife, it's going to be hard for a lot of us, it could be very hard to let that go and just kind of be okay with that. I mean, I'm not saying you would ever really be okay with it per se, but it would kind of stick with you for a period of time. At least it would for me. I'd be really upset about it. I'd be like, man, that's just ridiculous. I can't believe that happened. And so my nicer knives, I might use them around the house, but I keep a really close eye on them. And if I leave the home, to go somewhere, I typically use knives that are like $50 or less. I typically carry on me just in case I lose them, or if something happens. Things do happen in life. And so I would rather just be okay with that than trying to be okay with something a lot more expensive, being damaged or lost or whatever. So those are my thoughts for this video. Thanks for checking out this video. If you have any comments, feel free to leave them. I love to read your comments. Also, if you don't mind to hit the thumbs up button, that's awesome. It just kind of lets me know that you like this content. If you don't like this content, you can give me the thumbs down. That also helps me to understand what to do and not do. If you haven't subscribed, feel free to do so. And also hit the little bell icon when you do that if you want to be notified of future videos. I typically put out videos on a regular basis, so if you like that or want that, feel free to join up. Also, in the description box, there's a few links. There's a couple links to 2 books, I believe, that I've written in the last few years. So if you would be interested in that, you can definitely pick up some of my books from Amazon.com, and there's links for that there. And that really helps support the channel. I appreciate the support. Also, we have some channel patches left. If you want to pick up a patch, just email me at theartofprepping@hotmail.com, theartofprepping@hotmail.com. And for those who want to see that written out, I have my email address in the description section as well. I think that pretty much covers it. Let's see here. So I think that's good. I just want to once again thank you. And if you're a new subscriber, or if you just found or discovered my channel, feel free to message me if you have any thoughts about anything, or if anyone has recommendations for videos. I'll entertain the idea. I can't guarantee I'll do it, but I will entertain the idea. And if you want to share images of your gear, a lot of people they enjoy that, and I do too. You can always email me various images of your gear, and if it's okay for me to share it with others, just let me know as well. Sometimes I like to feature other people's gear that they send pictures of in videos. Sometimes we do that. It's been a while since I've done that, but maybe in the future we'll do another one. And what would you consider to be your prime recommendation for a high value budget knife? You guys take care. Catch you later.